All right, let's jump right in. You know that feeling, right, when you walk into a cool, comfy home on a blistering hot day? It's just relief. We totally take it for granted. But what's really going on behind the scenes is this constant hidden battle just to keep things comfortable. It's a fight that literally never stops.
And well, that's where things get interesting. Because that fight for comfort, it becomes a full-blown emergency the second our defenses fail. This quote here really nails it. Your AC doesn't care if it's a convenient time. And when you live somewhere extreme, that AC isn't just nice to have, it's an absolute lifeline.
So why is this fight so much harder in certain places? What makes staying cool in, say, South Florida so uniquely difficult? For this explainer, we're going to zero in on one specific battlefield, the picture-perfect paradise of Coral Gables, Florida.
Right, so you've got Coral Gables. On the outside, it's just gorgeous, right? All this amazing architecture, beautiful tree-lined streets. But inside those homes, there's this invisible war being fought. See, here, air conditioning isn't just a luxury. It's a critical system, and it is under constant assault from the very same environment that makes the place so beautiful.
And get this, unlike most parts of the country where an AC system gets a nice, long winter break, here in this subtropical climate, they are running almost non-stop from March all the way through November. Think about that, 9 months of full throttle operation. That means all the wear and tear just happens way, way faster.
So who are the bad guys in this story? I mean, it's not just the heat. It's actually a whole team of environmental villains, each one waging its own little war on your home's comfort. Let's meet the lineup.
Okay, so this lays it all out. It's a war on multiple fronts. First, you've got the obvious enemy, that year-round subtropical heat. But then you've got extreme humidity, which makes the system work double time just to pull moisture out of the air. Then throw in corrosive salt air whipping in from Biscayne Bay, plus the challenges of unique architecture and even strict hurricane codes. It's just the perfect storm of stress for these machines.
Let's zoom in on that salt air for a second, because this is a huge deal. The salt is literally eating away at the guts of the outdoor AC unit, the copper lines, the aluminum coils. And this isn't just a surface problem, it causes real physical damage that leads to the whole system failing way sooner than it should.
So with all these different forces attacking the system, a breakdown really becomes a question of when, not if. So let's look at the most common ways these systems finally give up the ghost, the crisis points where that battle for cool air is, at least for a little while, lost.
Crisis point number 1, refrigerant leaks. Remember that salty air we just talked about? Well, it chews tiny microscopic holes in the refrigerant lines. As that refrigerant leaks out, the system can't cool anymore. And the compressor, which is basically the heart of the system, has to work harder and harder until, boom, catastrophic failure.
All right, next up is water. In that super humid Florida air, your AC is pulling gallons and gallons of water out of the air every single day. All that water has to go somewhere, right? It goes through a little condensate drain line. But that warm, wet pipe is the perfect home for algae, which clogs the whole thing up. And the result? Water backs up, overflows, and can cause some serious damage to your ceilings and walls. It's a mess.
And crisis point number 3, the electrical parts. That outdoor unit is just sitting there, baking in the sun day after day. That intense heat just degrades these critical electrical parts, like capacitors and contactors. They're what tell the system to start up. So when they fail, the whole thing just won't turn on. It's like turning the key in your car and hearing absolute silence.
Okay, so your system's down. It's hot. What's next? Well, a real fix isn't just about slapping a Band-Aid on the problem. A professional response is super methodical, it's transparent, and it's all about finding the root of the failure. Let's break down what that actually looks like.
It really comes down to these 3 clear steps. First, you diagnose and assess. You got to figure out what's really wrong. Then you do the actual repair or installation. And finally, and this part is so important, you test and verify to make sure the problem is actually solved for good.
You know, that first step is everything. It's the difference between a quick fix that breaks again next week and a real lasting solution. I mean, anybody can just dump more refrigerant in, but that doesn't fix the leak, right? A proper diagnosis actually finds that leak, so the right repair gets made the first time.
And listen, the job is not over just because the tools are packed up. A good technician is going to run that system through its paces, checking temperatures, pressures, all the electrical stuff to confirm it's working exactly like it's supposed to. That final verification step is what keeps you from having to call them back in 2 days.
So, okay, the emergency is handled. But now, as a homeowner, you're facing a bigger, more strategic question.
how do you actually win this war long term? It really all comes down to a critical decision. Do you keep repairing that old system? Do you just replace the whole thing? Or do you get proactive and focus on maintenance?
And here's a really important piece of context. The clock just ticks faster in South Florida. An HVAC system that might last you 20 years somewhere else is only going to average about 12 to 15 years in this kind of demanding climate. And you've got to keep that in mind when you're looking at a big repair bill on an older unit.
So how do you make that call? Repair or replace? Well, here's a super handy tool from the source material. It's called the $5,000 rule. It's a simple little bit of math to help you make a logical, financial decision instead of an emotional one in the heat of the moment. You just multiply your system's age by the cost of the repair. If that number goes over $5,000, it's a pretty strong sign that replacement is probably the smarter move.
Okay, let's make this real with an example. Say you have a 12-year-old system. It's getting up there, right, in that replacement zone, and it needs a $500 repair. So you take 12 years times $500, that's $6,000. Since that's over the $5,000 threshold, the rule is basically telling you, hey, you're probably better off putting that money towards a brand new, more efficient system instead of sinking more cash into this old one that's on its last legs.
And this chart really sums up the whole dilemma, doesn't it? A repair has a lower upfront cost, which is tempting, especially for a newer system, but replacing it, while it costs more at first, solves those nagging, recurring problems. Plus, you get higher efficiency, which means lower bills, and the peace of mind of a brand new warranty. It's a classic short-term versus long-term game.
But of course, the best strategy is to just avoid the crisis in the first place, right? And that is where regular maintenance comes in. Simple things, cleaning coils, clearing out those nasty drain lines, checking the electrical parts, can prevent most of the common breakdowns. It'll make the system last longer, run more efficiently, and save you money every single month.
So, when you pull it all together, you see this intense, invisible battle that's required to keep a home cool in a place like Coral Gables. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What other complex, unseen systems are working overtime, completely out of sight, just to make your world comfortable and safe and convenient every single day?